Checking for sound. 1, 2, 3.
Loud and clear.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, Tebu Alan Kuleko. Are we correcting from both sides? Because today we are voting for the report. We have to correct right from the beginning.
Good morning, Chair. Standing Finance, there's currently 6 members on the platform, so it does form a quorum.
Morning, Chair. From the Select Committee on Finance, we have 8 members in the platform. We do correct.
I hope you are listening carefully to that, Chairperson. 8 against 6.
Very carefully, that you are over-correcting.
Over-correcting. That's a good one.
Yeah, after all, it's the upper house. It has to lead.
I like over-correcting. That's lovely.
No, which is commendable. Thanks very much.
Please put that in the minutes, Alan. In Kululeko, we'll put it on our side. You won't put it on your side.
Yeah, I'm glad from our side I can even see Akbare Vessels is here as part of the
What more can we ask for? Yes, Chairperson.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning.
Vessels, we've been missing you.
I've been missing you, Chair.
Yeah, I've been seeing yeah, I could feel, man, there's somebody who's not here in this. There was a rumor which was leaking. Okay. Let's start because we have got a long day today. Let me officially open the meeting. The meeting is officially open. It's a joint meeting of the Standing and the Select Committee Finance. Let me welcome Honorable Karim, the chairperson. Welcome members of the Standing Committee. Welcome members of the Select Committee. Welcome the support teams from both houses supporting the 2 committees. If there are officials from Treasury and SARS, they are also welcome. And other entities, welcome all the support teams in Parliament, legal, and others. Are there apologies?
Standing Committee on Finance, that's Mr. Sarupin.
Okay, apology of Mr. Sorpen, recorded.
From the select side on finance, Chair, all members are here, no apology.
Yeah, full house. Thank very much. Let's move right away to item 2, consideration and adoption of the committee report on the 2023 revised fiscal framework and revenue proposals. There is the report. We move right away to item 7. Committee's observations and recommendations. We'll move item per item until to the end. Let's start with 7.1. If a member wants to raise an issue on an item, you will also raise the hand on the platform. Thanks. Agreed? Kosana, where are you?
Agreed, Chair.
Thanks for my village. There are hands. Honorable Ryder, Honorable Okam. Please go back to 7.1. Yeah. Honorable Ryder.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, mine is a general observation. It's not specific. Chair, Mondays are constituency days, days used for members to travel to Parliament. This is a 51-page report of really technical nature with 15 pages of observations and recommendations. Distributing it at 5 p.m. on a Friday. Sorry, I beg your pardon, on a Monday. Ahead of an 9 a.m. meeting on a Tuesday doesn't really give us an appropriate opportunity to really get into the meat of it. And whilst I have jumped through hoops in the past to facilitate committee meetings where these things have happened on other days in the week, I just believe that doing it to us on a Tuesday morning is grossly inappropriate. And I don't believe that any of us can say we've done this report justice. So yeah, it's a general comment here. I just think that as my chairperson always, he knows what I'm going to be saying long before I say at the end of this process. But realistically, Chair, I think that sending this report out when it did come out has not been inappropriate. It hasn't been good for democracy. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Rainer. Honorable Okam. Then,
thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson Karim. Honorable Okam.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, I fully support what Honorable Ryder has said. And then just a question from my side. Can we please just make the writing a bit bigger so that while we are going through it, we can read it easier? Thank you very much.
Okay. No, thanks. Honorable Notolo Abraham.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to add the voice of the African National Congress to the issue of timing for the completion of the committee report so that we have sufficient time, at least a full day or two before the actual committee meeting, so that we are able to process the issues that are raised, not only for ourselves, but for our different caucuses as well. So the issue of time must be taken into cognizance, and the modus operandi must really change in terms of how we do things. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Comrade Eunice.
Yeah, no, I was going to say much. I think, sorry, Dion, Dennis, and the other two comrades, the other two colleagues are right. You see, Chairperson, this is an issue we've been dealing with since 2014. And as chairs, we only get the report. Well, actually, it came through around just before I took the flight from Pietermaritzburg to Joburg around 1 o'clock. So I could only send my comments afterwards. And you caught up in NEC and subcommittee meetings, and as indeed a whole of us in all parties. There is no simple answer, Chairperson. And I just want to, I'm sure you'll agree with me as chairs, we know this more than most maybe. But the committee staff work very hard, Chairperson. They get endless submissions. In fact, we asked them to summarize it on a Friday afternoon. Then somebody has to take responsibility for the first draft. Then others have to comment, right? So it's an elaborate process. And we must acknowledge, Chairperson, the amount of work they do. And look at the quality of the writing. We may not agree with some of its content, but look at the quality of the writing. It's first class, really. The choice of words, the way the sentences are constructed. It's a delight to read, even if I have some problems with how soft it is. But I really think the only way out, Dennis, you know we've been through this before. What I had suggested once, Chairperson, I don't know if this is the answer, and it's the people who come back after next May who must look into it. He's right. All of them are right. You see, one option may be, Chairperson, that instead of waiting for the Friday for Treasury to reply, I think we have the hearings on a Wednesday, right? Because a Tuesday is set aside for those two institutions. We have a way, Treasury they mastered this. They've been working on it for 9 months or more. On the Thursday, even if after the House rises, we should have a meeting where Treasury replies and the stakeholders come. With a virtual meeting, the stakeholders can fit in. Then on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the staff work on it. By Sunday afternoon, they send it to the two chairs. We make our comments, especially on the recommendation section. By Sunday night, 5 o'clock instead of Monday night, they're out. So that's an option that I have raised before, but we haven't picked up on it. But maybe there are other ideas which I don't think we need to be preoccupy ourselves with now, Chairperson. But the comrades and the colleague is right.
Thanks, Chairperson. Honorable Manya.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. Firstly, I'm covered by everyone. I'm covered by the complaints that it arrives too late. I'm also covered by the suggestion by the Honorable Karimde to say whatever he has said. I think makes sense as a way forward. I'm hoping that we can just, as a collective, just adopt his recommendation to correct the situation. The only thing I wanted to just check, Chair, as a general comment on the observations and recommendations, is whether are we as a committee not in a position to even give directives? I mean, as an example, for instance, if we say that in terms of these IMF loans and all of that, and then we say we recommend that in future there must be more transparency on the fine print in terms of all the conditions and all of that. Now, it's just a recommendation. Whether that is going to happen or not is another story. But for me, in that particular instance, as an example, it should have been a directive. So I just want to check with you, Chair, whether as this committee, are we not sitting, or rather as Parliament, does Parliament not have the power to direct things to happen in a particular way? If we make a recommendation here, then we're at the mercy of the executive deciding whether or not to adopt that executive. Alternatively, if we are not in a position to direct, then we must say that if this recommendation is not acceded to, there must be reasons given at the very same time, as well as to why are this not done. But to simply make recommendations and then hope for the best, I think it's not progressive, Chair. So I don't know how we're going to deal with that matter, but that's a general comment. But it is also specific to the issue of IMF, because I think it's very light to say World Bank. It's one of the recommendations that there must be more transparency on these World Bank loans and so on. I'm saying, Chair, I don't know how we're going to deal with that in that context. I'm not happy with the current formulation of just recommending and just leaving it blank like that. So I'm at the mercy of your guidance, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. In terms of the procedure, Honorable, we are recommending to the houses. We are not recommending to the executives. Parliament will take decision in this regard. So now we are recommending as committees. The moment the National Assembly adopts our report, it becomes the report of Parliament. It becomes a decision. So the decision is taken by the National Assembly, and on the other side of the Select Committee, the decision will be taken by the full house of the NCOP. So we are recommending to the houses, not to the to the treasurer or executive. In regard to processing the report, I think Honorable Karim is right. It's a question of programming, honorable members, which is making life very difficult in this regard. Remember, I will suppress you, Dr. Hlophe, so that you don't go into debate with honorable members. I will summarize on this matter. It's a matter of programming. Remember, the Minister of Finance approaches the Speaker and agree that on this and this day, he will be tabling the MTBBS. Then the Speaker schedules the item for a particular day. Once the Minister tables the MTBBS, it is consequential how we are supposed to follow the program. We as the committees, we don't have control over the program, because after that, it's the minister, the following day, immediately minister briefing the committees. After that, immediately is public hearings. A day or two, treasurer must come and brief the committees and the stakeholders in terms of responses. The following week is a must that you must go and table the report to Parliament. And that's how it is tabled. I mean, it is programmed. So even the programming committee is how it does things. Probably you can also suggest that as chairpersons, Comrade Karim, myself, Buteles, Comrade Digelet, we can sit down and then look at the possibility of approaching the programming committee and see if we can have a breathing space in between, that in the future, when they do the programming, there should be a week or more days to give members to study the report. But as it is, it has been like this since I joined this committee, because that's how Parliament programs finance matters. From here, then we hand over to appropriations, and then appropriations also have to work under very extreme pressure, because before the end of the time the House arises, the appropriation bill or DORA should have been adopted by Parliament. So that's the difficulty. So we'll have to look at it as chairpersons and see how we can engage a programming committee for future references. So let's go now to 7.2, because Mavileta has moved for adoption of 7.1. 7.2.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 7.3.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Today you are on your own. Where is Zanel and Skosan? 7.4.
Agreed, Chair.
Comrade,
My hand is up, Chair.
Comrade Noxie?
Yes, yes, Chair. Yes, Chair. On 7.4, Chair, we are raising a concern with the comparison with the BRICS. I mean, we all would agree as a collective here that the South African economy, just one example, China, you cannot compare the performance of the South African economy with the Chinese economy. And therefore, the committee can observe the GDP growth in comparison with the sub-Saharan region, for example. But it is not fair to go to the BRICS, the BRICS countries. It cannot be accepted. And therefore, I wish that that particular clause can be rephrased to exclude the BRICS. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Noxie. It will be corrected, and then also.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
I struggle to understand what exactly is the correction here.
The
From
comparison.
what to what? I can. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Sorry for that, Honorable Manyi. No, the correction here, Chair, is on the unfair comparison of comparing oranges with apples. And therefore, for us, the inclusion of the comparison with BRIC countries is a bit unfair. You cannot say a relative to BRIC countries. Rather, compare apples with apples so that you have a comparison of the country with the sub-Saharan region. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Okam.
Thank you, Chairperson. I do not agree with this. I think we should actually compare us with every single country in the world and see where we stand. We are a part of the BRICS group of nations, and therefore we should compare us to what is going on in the conversations that we are present in this instance, BRICS. So I think what 7.4 says is that the BRICS rate is 4.1%, and we must compare where we are standing with regards to that. We also got the sub-Saharan in there, but I think let's compare us to Europe and to other places as well, and show everybody where we stand to give us an exact idea of our performance in relationship to other countries. Thank you. I think it should be as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Okam. Mhlekazi Manyi.
Yeah, no, Chair, I also, I'm on exactly the same page. I mean, what is the member saying? That we must compare ourselves with Swaziland and Lesotho. I mean, really, it's not making sense. I agree with the input made by the member just now, that in fact, this is just a starters. We should be comparing ourselves to the G20. We always pride that here's a president going to the G20. Next thing, we want to play like we are being unfairly. I mean, why even attend a G20 meeting if we're going to have a problem being compared to the BRIC countries, which are a constituent of that? No, I think this is correct, Chair. I don't think there should be any changes on this.
Of course. Honorable Maswal.
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you. Pardon me for my video. I'm just in a very low reception area where I am. I wanted to perhaps differently, though still agree with the need for a formulation that is more accommodative of all the expressed views. The expressed views, even if you include what Honorable Okamp is saying as well as what Honorable Manyi is saying, it's of course expressing concern with the performance of the South African economy relative to the world. I think the issue of just singling out BRICS or those we might just want to have that formulated in a way that is as inclusive as possible. But the issue really uppermost is the concern over the economic performance. That's all. The other is just semantics, etc., etc. I don't think it's a matter we should quibble over. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Maswale. I think that's how we should phrase it. Generally, there's a consensus on how we should approach this matter. It's a matter of how we express it on the sentence. 7.5.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Chairperson.
Honorable Manya.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what we're agreeing to here. If we say the committee acknowledges persistent structural constraints, particularly in energy and logistics, and I mean, we've got reports and reports, Chairperson, of sabotage and all kinds of nonsense happening in the energy generation. And now to summarize this and sanitize it like this and say and make it as if it's a persistent structural constraint when in fact these are all manufactured problems. I think this paragraph is actually sanitizing the real situation. I don't know what is a formulation that is true. This is not true what we're saying here. We don't acknowledge these things. I think as a committee, we acknowledge all the reports that have come, have been tabled even by the executive, that there's this, there's that, and all of that. So most of these things are not really structural, just man-made incompetencies, sabotage, all the nonsense that is happening at ESCOM. But to now sanitize it and say it's a persistent structural constraint, I mean, it's really misleading the public.
So what about the second sentence, Honorable Manyo, which says attention is drawn to the crucial need for swift implementation of energy and logistics reforms? Because what we do in this section is to observe and then we recommend. So
you see, for instance, when we say, Chair, energy and logistic reforms, it's very loaded because that is I don't think we are at idiom as a country as to what that should take. If you look at the JET, for instance, the notion of reform, what is it when you say reform? The one understanding of reform is mothballing plants, even if they are operational, because you are so scared of Europe. You mothball functioning plants, replace them with these unreliable renewables, and you call that reform, you know. And when others would see reform as indeed have the energy mix, but don't shut down operating plants. But the reform here, as understood by the World Bank and everybody else, is a reform that seeks to advantage European countries that are busy taking our coal in 800% more than they've been taking before, and they call that reform. And they say this is what we must do: we must give coal to them and not to ourselves. And that is the reform. And if we are here as Parliament and we say that is what we must do and call that reform, I have a problem with this. So, but I don't have a problem with the fact, with the issue of maybe we must take out the word reform and talk about an appropriate energy mix that is going to make sure that we balance all the issues as it were and all of that. But the word reform is a very loaded word, Chairperson. It means conforming to all kinds of things that are not assisting South Africa, but are assisting all the imperialist influences on the country.
okay, thanks. Remember also down when we proceed with the report, we are still going to deal with the issue of Eskom and Transnet. The issue of logistics and energy takes a bigger chunk of this report. Okay, your input is welcome, Honorable Manya. Akbare Okamp and then Honorable Abraham.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, when we discussed this, it was said by us from the DA side as well as some of the members that participated from the public. But what was said is that we need to look at an increase in the tax incentives that are given to people that at their own houses or businesses spend money on renewable energy such as solar, etc. And I think it is important that that is incorporated as a committee, well, as both committees were at IDEM on, we all agreed that that should be looked into. And I don't know whether you want to maybe put that into the areas where we discuss Eskom or where it should be put in here. But I think that those are some of the recommendations that were made by this committee, well, to this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me understand, Honorable Okam. You say we should recommend a particular tax regime. What is it all about? And does Parliament have those powers, or it is the minister who recommend when he tables the budget in February the taxes in regard to particular sectors? Either we adopt or we reject, so that we stay clear of our responsibilities as an independent arm of government.
Yeah.
Remember last time the minister spoke about last year the rebate, and we debated it at length. You can come back and clarify what you are recommending, more especially on the taxation issue.
Yeah, Chairperson, when we debated it last year, what was said was that the amount that people can claim back from taxes are way too small. We need to increase that so that people can put in proper systems, or that they can really be encouraged to get off the grid as far as possible. It will give a lot of alleviation to the grid itself. And we were addressed by a number of people that also in these deliberations and public participations that we had, that said that we need to increase the amount of tax that one can claim back when it comes to the implementation of alternative energy solutions for private individuals. The amounts that are there currently are way too low, and I think it is one of the recommendations of this committee that to the minister, that when he does his new budget in February, or even now, it should urgently be looked into to increase the amounts available for tax rebates for renewable energy. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Okam. Honorable Abraham, then Honorable Masai.
Thank you, Chair. I think, Chair, especially with your guidance on a later discussion on Eskom, and the fact that, at least in terms of recommendation, we still have a sentence at the end that says attention should be drawn to the need for swift implementation. And I think, Chair, that one, we really need to leave it as it is, because at least it gives us a way forward in terms of ensuring the quickening of implementation. And in terms of reforms, I think that term is okay. Let us not ourselves load the concept, because the concept as is exactly that, logistic reforms. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Honorable Maswala.
No, thank you, Chair. I was going to say that let's plead with all of us that we proceed on this point, because though, Chair, I must say that the comments we made earlier, which were agreed to across the board, that the reports ought to have been with members a little longer, it is because you have time to appreciate both the observation and recommendation that follows that observation. That's the first point. The second point is that what is the point here being made, I think, in 7.5? 7.5, if I were to summarize, is about the unacceptably low average GDP growth rate. All else is merely impacting on that. So I was going to suggest that the issues to do with energy as well as logistics be carried over to the specific sections in which energy is dealt with, as well as where logistics are dealt with. So I'm really merely saying that some of the points that are valid being made are relevant in the subsets where they belong. Thank you, Chair.
Enkosi ngihlala ngaphambili Maswale. Honorable Manya.
Yeah, no, Chair. You see, if we follow, although what Honorable Maswada is saying is making a lot of sense, but if that's what we're going to do, then we might as well stop the meeting and have the whole thing rewritten. Then, because I don't know who's going to now start cutting and pasting to the relevant sections and all of that. So once we have them as they are, then Chair, we're bound to deal with them as they come. And I want to insist, Chair, that the word reform is not a parliamentary word. It's a global word. It's got a known international meaning. So let's not pretend that the word reform is just some English. It's not some English. It's an economic term. It's spoken for. So we can't start now pretending and giving words our own meaning. These words have got meanings. When you say reform, everybody knows what we mean. And we're not agreed in terms of what that should be. But for the purposes of what we're doing here, a word that will not spark controversy is a simple word of improvement. If we said logistics improvement, who would argue with that? But when you say reform, you lock us into the IMF agenda, and we're not, unless chairperson want to just do this and finish, and then we just, as the EFF, were very clear, then that we don't reject the report as it is, because we're not going to sit here and agree to an IMF terminology. Thank you, Chair.
Aye, Awinda, you are a member of this committee and a public representative. We debated this report until to the end. And nobody has said that they reject what you have recommended. For instance, you raised an important matter of energy mix. Energy mix is looking at various subsectors of energy, be it nuclear, green energy, coal, and all range of other subsectors in the energy area. So no one said has completely rejected what you have raised. It's a matter of debating as to how do we process this issue. What Honorable Maswale was emphasizing was that there are areas down the report as we proceed where there will be specific issues that we will have to look at when it comes to energy and logistics. But it doesn't mean that we are rejecting what you have recommended on energy mix, for instance. Thanks.
But I was specifically talking to the word reform, Chair, because Honorable Abrams was insisting that we must keep reform, and I'm suggesting that we replace reform with a word that is less controversial, because reform is a globally accepted and known term, and its implications are dire, as it were, and they don't support a developmental state like ours.
Chairperson Karim, where are you? I know you have done a lot of studies on structural adjustment programs and a whole range of other global economic governance issues.
No, Chairperson, I don't have much to say. I think we can find a compromise, really. And we have to vote on the report, as you know, today, because tomorrow we vote on it in the houses. And if we don't do that, then the appropriations committees can't start their work. And I know Dick has got a meeting for us on Wednesday or Thursday evening anyway. So we can do it the way we've normally done it. Just strike a compromise, and the wording can be put onto the paragraph before we vote on it at the end. But finally, I mean, the norm is that people present their point of view, and if it's not agreed to, then the majority has its way. And as far as I remember, since 2014, I don't think the EFF has ever voted for this report. Nor has, I think sometimes on the odd occasion, the DA, and I don't think the Freedom Front votes on it. So that's like a norm. And at the end, we put on the report to be considered, and then we put the positions of the parties at the end, and then they come and vote on it which is their right. Thank you.
Maybe that's why we have this mess here, Chairperson, because if the EFF's reviews were taken into account in 2014, we wouldn't be sitting with this debt service cost that we're sitting with here today, all because of this reform word. Thank you, Chair. Sorry to interject like that.
No, okay. Honorable Maswan.
Chair, I'm still looking at the paragraph itself. I'm not really in the ideological debates about it, but the essence of what is transmitted here is the swift implementation of the energy and logistics necessary changes. It could be improvements. I don't think we can go to war for that at this point. I would suggest just an ease. I think the message is the same. The import is the same because we're talking to the need to accelerate all those changes that are necessary in respect to both energy and logistics. Whatever term you're comfortable with, we could actually put there a word that would really make sure that among all of us, we agree on the content, the essence of what needs to be done. So it's not a matter that I think we should really go for broke in. I would leave with anything logistics, improvements, drastic improvements, whatever it is. Thank you. So I support the committee, the drafters can work out, as Honorable Karim is saying, something that would just accommodate the discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We'll consider it towards the end as recommended by Chairperson Karim. 7.6.
Agreed.
Agreed. I see Noxie and Maswala raising hands.
Yes, Chair. I think also the way 7.6 has been crafted, it also looks like a general statement. It says at the end the impacts of fuel, the impacts of fuel and food prices along with identified risks are highlighted as factors influencing inflation. Look, okay, maybe. Okay. No. Okay, sure. I will look at it when we come to recommendations and see whether we do accommodate something that takes us forward in terms of the fuel and food prices. Thanks, Chair.
Chair, mine was a legacy one. Apologies. I've since I'm fine.
Okay, thanks. Agreed. That's 777.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Agreed. Eight. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Seven, nine. Then we're back to the issue of energy and logistics reform, comprehensive measures to overcome challenges in this critical sector. So now that we are in recommendations on the issue of logistics and energy, and there was a strong debate about the term reform. Chairperson Karim, you suggested something. What were you saying specifically?
No, I wasn't suggesting anything particularly. I just have enormous confidence in Zakele and the team. They can just do something in tracking, give them a few minutes towards the end, and they can slide it in. But we never had a problem before. What we've done is we've sent back in tracking to all the party political heads if there's a major change. I think we can drop the word reform, although, Comrade Chair, I don't want to enter the issue of reform is also a Marxist term. You're familiar with the debate in Rosa Luxemburg and Lenin about relations, reforms, and revolution. There's no point going into that debate. Parties are entitled to their views. It can be accommodated, as Comrade Pumulo says, and I'm confident that Zakele and his team will do it. Thank you very much. I have nothing further to say.
Thank you, Comrade Karim. There we are. Uma Viletsa, 7.9.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 7.10.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 7.11.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 7.12.
Agreed, Chair. Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Zanele. 7.13.
Agreed, Chair.
If we talk about targeted intervention in education, skills development, you know, this challenge of health and education budget being sliced to finance SOEs is a serious challenge. I think it's raised somewhere. We can't keep quiet about it. Health and education are the key priorities of any country. You measure the development of a country, human development, through, you use the yardstick of health and education and other related matters, maybe life expectancy. But at the rate at which the budget of health and education are being sliced, we are going to have a serious challenge moving forward, because now it's like SOEs are being subsidized by those two sectors, whereas it was supposed to be the other way around. We understand the issue of the debt to GDP ratio is a problem, but it's also a problem for the two key areas, the manner they are being dealt with. I think at some stage you will have to enter into a serious discussion with the Treasury as to when Cabinet adopted this, how did they arrive at it? And it looks like the cut is not only for this financial year, is for it will be there for the foreseeable future. I'm not saying let's enter into the debate now, but it's a matter that we have to note and raise it with the Parliament so that they are aware about this challenge. Honorable Manya, I see you are raising your hand.
Yeah, no, Chair. I think, to be honest, this 7.13 is some kind of a waffle. I mean, after reading this, what do you do? I mean, what do you do to, I mean, if we say this includes targeted intervention in education and skills development to create sustainable long-term, what are we saying there? I mean, we're sitting here with people with master's degrees that are not getting jobs. So people are educated and they are roaming the streets with their gowns. And and then we say what we're saying here. We don't have a problem of educated people in this country. We have lots of them. They are floating the streets. But what we don't seem to have is an economy that absorbs them. But we're not saying anything here about exactly what should happen. For instance, things like investment in infrastructure. I mean, if we started to build, I mean, you look, for instance, with the floods in KZN, money gets spent, but you see nothing on the ground. You don't see bridges being built. You don't see things being done. So the issue of investment, massive investment in infrastructure, needs to come in as part of what needs to happen. That's how this is going to happen. But if we don't say so, we just come up with something bland and just say create sustainable long-term employment. Or how do you do this? Do we just do Nasispani? Is this what we're going to do? And then we say we've done something. No, Chair. I think it's a bit of a waffle. I think the committee can do, the drafters can do better to give direction as to what exactly must happen. And I'm suggesting, as an example, that the massive investment in infrastructure will do most of this absorption. But to just leave it like this is just a big English that is not taking us anywhere.
Okay, can you send your recommendation to the drafters in regard to what you're suggesting so that we can look at it about the infrastructural rollout and how it relates to creating employment?
Chair, I think they've got it. They've got it. They are very intelligent people. They've gotten it.
They are waffling to mail a statement, and then you say they got it.
Yeah. No, Chair, I did make a recommendation, Chair.
You are very good in writing. You are a communicator. Can you do what you are qualified in, please?
Okay, Chair, will do.
Take a member of Parliament. I know you are a communicator. Please assist. That's what we do. Either you put it on the chat or you send it to Zakele and the team directly. Thanks very much, Mhlabas. 7:14. Yeah, 7:14.
Agreed.
Agreed. 7:15.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed, Zanele. 7:16.
Chair, without taking you back, can we from maybe from the drafters or from the chair just get an explanation on the adaptive economic strategies, what that entails? Because for me it's more of a broad statement. Can it be more specific? Thank you, Chair.
7.15.
7.15.
if the uncertainties, the committee recommends development of an adaptive economy. Government should be to adjust policies based on evolving economic conditions, foster. But yeah, why don't we talk of the ERRP, which is there, so that we don't talk about new strategies and make life difficult for Treasury. That we want to see. Yeah, we want to see the implementation of the ERRP, and it will also encompass what Honorable Manye has raised sharply on the issue of infrastructure rollout, which can create jobs. I see Dr. Hlophe. Dr. I saw your hand.
Yes, Chair. I'm going to put something in the chat with regard to adaptability of fiscal strategies, but it merely refers to the Treasury being flexible to change its strategy when there are situations that demand it. It means flexibility. Like, for instance, in economic downturn, some government implement counter-cyclical measures, which Treasury has been implementing fiscal consolidation and not flexible enough to adapt and see that this is where the economy is at and implement those counter-cyclical measures. So it means something like that. If you have a natural disaster, Treasury will be flexible to say, okay, let's adapt our strategy and, reallocate the budgetary resources that we have. We had the pandemic and it had to do the same thing, but some people said no, there was no actually injection into the economy. It was just shifting funds around from other, So it means something like that, but we could expand on it in this paragraph. But I know members like to see the paragraphs short and not too long sometimes.
Oh, okay, thanks, Dr. Comrade Karim.
Sorry, I'm having a bit of a problem with my iPad. No, I agree with what Zokele is saying. I think both 714 and 715, in initial reading, I also felt it's too general. It's not specific enough, like Comrade Noxie. But reading it now again, I can see what it means when you look at the second sentences in his case. I think also, colleagues, it's for us to, the recommendations and observations section belongs to the politicians. The summaries is really what the stakeholders give by Friday lunchtime to the staff, and they just simply reproduce that as much as they can. So we should be, in the discussions we have before they write the report, be guiding them on what it is. The question really is to ourselves, what do we mean? Not the staff, by strategic management of macroeconomic indicators. In 715, what do we mean? The development of adaptive economic strategies. But what is good about this is that it's critiquing national treasury. And the thing that we've constantly raised, Comrade Chair, about its rigidity, its insensitivity to the human factor. It's looking at macroeconomic indicators and economic variables without looking at the concrete conditions of the concrete times. So it's a very it's an advance on what we've been saying, but maybe it's the way it's couched in too technical but very sound economic language of the day. So I think, maybe can be couched by saying, he does say that they do say this involves careful, amongst other things, careful and maybe a bit tougher. I think overall, my own sense, Comrade Chair, is that the report is good overall, but it's too soft in the way it tackles Treasury. And given the dire situation we're in, and given Treasury's rigidities, I think these are two good points, 714 and 715. It's just maybe the way it's couched. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Karim. Okay. Let's strengthen our recommendation part. 16. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 17. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 18.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 19.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 20.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Chairperson.
Honorable Manu.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, I just don't know. For instance, I know that the other member there is quick to say agreed, because maybe she was done or whatever. But if you look at the if you look at the 3 points, Chair, before 720.
Mhlekazi,
Yes, sir.
don't punch other members for.
Okay, sorry. I withdraw, Chair.
No, ungayenzi lento.
Okay. Okay. All right. I withdraw. If you, I'm just looking at the 3 points before 720, that there's absolute zero responsibility taken for the mess that is happening in our financial affairs. We're blaming everything else. We're blaming the world. We're blaming everything. Where does it show that there is something we could have done better? I mean, there's absolutely nothing here. There's nobody taking any responsibility here. And we are here endorsing this abdication of taking responsibility. We're blaming everything. We're blaming the international world. We're blaming domestic issues, but absolutely nothing to do with the what could have been done differently by the people that are actually on the ground here. So I don't know how we capture that, just so that this thing must reflect the truth, because it's not true that we're sitting here with the Rolls-Royce management that does everything right. It's just that we're disappointed by the global market and what have you. So I'm not getting the sense here, Chair, that this work is honest in reflecting on, and I'm not saying this pinpoint who did wrong, but I think there must be some acknowledgement of sorts that maybe things could have been done differently, if better decisions could have been taken, because some of these things are driven by bad decisions. For instance, the decision to stop a plant that is generating 1,000 megawatts, and you close that plant and replace it with renewables that is doing not even half of that of those megawatts. What do you think you're doing when you're doing that? And then when the economy is slumping, and then you begin to say the world this, the world that, when you've taken an inept decision yourselves as the executives that are doing these things. So, but I'm not getting that coming through here, Chair. And I'm sitting here, I'm convinced that some of these things are just because of inept decisions that were taken. So how do we accommodate that? We can't sit here and sanitize the lackluster performance of the executives that make these decisions that are getting us to this mess.
Thanks. Before I come to Honorable Maswal, I thought from 7 to, is it 7.21 where we start with recommendations? Because what we are doing with the above paragraphs is to acknowledge or to observe that this is what is happening. But we come strong when from 7.21 downwards, we recommend that the following should happen. Thanks. Honorable Maswane.
Without dialogue, Chair, I must apologize. I'm suggesting, Chair, that it must be an observation as such that some of the decisions that got taken did not assist us. And I've just made a quick example of a decision that is real that was taken where a plant that was producing 1,000 megawatts was mothballed and replaced by some renewables that did not produce half of that. And that had its own ripple effect into the economy. So how can we not observe that amongst the things that we're observing?
Yeah, I think earlier on, Honorable Manye, you raised the strong issue of energy mix. And in that regard, you were accommodating the observation that you have made in the energy sector without going into the details. And we have captured what you have recommended. Remember, we took a long time debating the issue of reform, improvement, or transformation. So let's remember that before we came to 7 to 20, earlier on we debated that matter and we agreed upon it. So we didn't reject it. It was the issue of how we formulate it. Honorable Maswale.
Thank you, Chair. No, my comment really was on 720, where it reads the committee, looking ahead, the committee anticipates the minister proposing tax measures. That may well be in our minds fact, but I don't know. I would rather we be. I'm trying to avoid this anticipation because I know elsewhere there would even be an expression that you can't anticipate and talk to a matter that is yet to be presented. It's preemptive. I don't know what we want to say here in respect of the 15 billion, because there was that mention of the 15 billion. I don't know. I don't want us to be in the domain in which we would want the House to be anticipating. I don't know if there can be a wording that can couch that, so that if we are specific to the 15 billion, we speak to it rather than speaking in a speculative way. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Maswale. We shouldn't make statements like this, that the minister might increase taxes. You send panic button to the society. Let's find a way of dealing with the issue of 15 billion without this statement of anticipating the minister to propose the tax measures. Let's rework this sentence and not make any insinuation that the minister is going to increase the taxes. How they deal with the 15 billion is up to them as executive and SARS. Thanks, Honorable Maswale, for identifying that. Otherwise, it was going to create problems for us as a committee to put statements in this manner. So let's highlight it and rework it so that it reflects what we want to convey without talking about increasing taxes. And goes 721. Okay, agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
How are you?
Agreed, Chair.
Thanks, Mazet. 722.
Agreed, Chairperson.
No, for the same reasons, Chair, I was pointing out on that 720. I think concomitantly, I think the team must look into this.
Yeah, we once dealt with this issue of VAT on the food basket in the past. I can't remember how it was phrased. The issue of food inflation is a serious challenge. Drafters, researchers, do you remember how we dealt with this issue in the past of food inflation and tax related to the food basket?
Chairperson?
Comrade Karim?
Yeah, sorry, I put my hand up. Our existing position since 2018, Dikeledi will remember, as 2017 might be, Zakira will remember, is that we oppose an increase in VAT because of its disproportionate effect on poorer people. And we opposed VAT at all, no increase in the one case and not at all on basic foods. We itemized some of them. Sakila can go back to that and simply refer to that. I think that's still our position because there is, a lot of discussion within Treasury, as we know. Treasury itself admits to it, about increased taxes. The minister mentioned that figure 15 billion. Exactly what the sources of it, as you know, Chairperson, the MTBPS, Treasury doesn't, for the reasons we're familiar with, tell us what they're going to introduce in taxes because that'll be, disturb the market and so on. We've discussed this. We even looked for advice whether Treasury can just introduce a VAT increase. Other taxes, yes, we can understand because you take customs tax, excise tax. If you let people know 3 months ahead that you're going to increase the cost of cigarettes and liquor, they'll obviously stockpile, right? So we understand that comes on the day of the budget. But a VAT increase, we argue, it's questionable constitutionally whether that can be done. But the advice we got, unfortunately, nowhere in the world, they looked at it and in our constitution, does it prevent Treasury from doing it? And we left the whole matter, but it's still in abeyance. Our position remains, Chair, unless we change it. And we even said, Comrade Chair, you'll recall in the exit report when I briefed you, that we said that VAT increase will subsist only for 2 years and then will be reviewed. But in the meanwhile, our conditions got worse. In fact, you might remember, Dikeledi, we had a huge fight with the then minister. And finally, the study group prevailed. We said, no, it's only going to be for 24 months. So even that increase, Comrade Chair, colleagues, was only for 2 years and to be reviewed. And we didn't get around to doing that. But we have a standing position, Chairperson. I would suggest we look at the wording, adjust it, and slide it in here. Nobody wants an increase in VAT, I think, and nobody wants an increase on basic foods. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's look at that formulation that we have agreed upon before, as you suggest, Honorable Karim, and see how we can reformulate it even now for this report. I see Honorable Manya.
Yeah, no, Chair. I think I'm somewhat covered by Honorable Karim's input. But in addition, Chair, I think when we leave that very first sentence as it is, it gives the impression that we are actually endorsing drawing blood out of a stone. I think there's nothing wrong with addressing revenue shortfall, but to address revenue shortfall by intention to increase taxes sounds like it's actually one of the fundamentally wrong ways in which this government is doing things, because all you have to do is to stimulate the economy. You stimulate the economy, then you get the multiplier effect, and then already your revenue is addressed. But to go and squeeze blood out of a stone, this is what this sentence seeks to do. So I'm suggesting it's a good thing to address the shortfall, but the way in which we should find a very nuanced way of saying what we're saying here, that actually does not talk to increasing taxes, but talks to the progressive, substantive increasing of the economy, so that will result in addressing the revenue shortfall. I think, Chair, we must also remember that most of this shortfall, although there's no way of dealing with it here, but I think let's just understand that this budgeted, this shortfall, in my view, is probably because we're still reeling from the July unrest, as it were. A lot of businesses were damaged there. So there's a lag effect of that. So we need to deal with those realities, as it were, because if we deal with those, then business is up and about and everything is buzzing. Then we don't have this discussion about shortfalls. But if we are going to not address those fundamental issues and just want to just squeeze blood out of a stone, I think it's a wrong approach. And as I said, I also support this zero VAT rating of food and even expanding that basket, because the poor who've got nothing to do with the destruction of the economy are actually bearing the brunt of all of this. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. So I agree we are agreeing that we'll look at how we formulated it in the past reports, and then see how we can paraphrase this 722. But I generally, there's an agreement on the zero VAT rated food basket be expanded. So let me recognize other members who are on the platform. Dr. Hlophe.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to bring the attention of members to bullet point 6.20. When the National Treasury was responding to the public submissions on revenue issues, it stated explicitly that they are going to increase taxes next year to make up for the 15 billion. Is there in 6.20? So the observation made in 7.20 is based on what the National Treasury said there. It said revenue measures aiming to raise an additional 15 billion will be announced in the 2024 budget, with a focus on minimizing negative economic impacts. Stakeholder proposals, including those related to VAT, fuel taxes, corporate income tax, wealth tax, and other adjustments, will be considered for the 2024 budget. So it's not like we are anticipating something that because the Treasury has already said so. They say we are going to increase taxes. So perhaps the committee, if it wants to draft something, it might say maybe we oppose the increasing of taxes in order to raise the additional 15 billion rand and so on. But when you look at 720 and the recommendation, I think it comes from what the National Treasury said in the responses very explicitly in a committee meeting. And I don't think members did challenge that during the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hlophe, but where we are now, as the committee, we don't agree that there should be VAT on the food basket. Hence, we are saying that let's look at the previous formulation, which was adopted by Parliament, so that we just reinstate it. That in the past, this is what we said. We are still recommending that VAT on food is a no-no. Let me identify members. Honorable Noxie, then Honorable Manye, and Comrade Karim.
Yes, Chair. You know, in as much as there's been that pronouncement by Treasury for next year, but there hasn't been any pronouncement on tax in the MTBPS, and therefore I want to re-emphasize our view as the committee that we agree, Chair, to recommend the zero VAT rated food basket to be expanded as a primary support measure for lower income households. Thank you, Chair.
Of course, Honorable Mike.
Chair, I think that there are 2 points. What I think is Honorable Abraham saying, we're all covered there. There's no debate on that one. The issue is on the issue of increase of tax. And I think the input by the doctor there was very useful. And I think even what he was intimating, we should rather say, if it's what we're saying, was also very useful. And I think I agree with it, that let's be clear. And I don't know this formulation, Chairperson, that was said before, maybe should be flagged here, so that when we leave here, we know what exactly was that formulation. Maybe it was before some of us were here. But for me, in the absence of that formulation, I think a clear note to reject what Treasury seeks to do in 2024 announcement must come out clear here. So as they go to 2024, they must know that we are rejecting their intentions as stated in that clause that was read out. Thank you, Chair.
Of course, Honorable Maya. No, it was those days when you were still with us in a lighter note. Konamanje, you are throwing stones at us. You say, in 2014, why didn't you agree to EFF? But 2014, you were with us, we were agreeing. So, we'll get this formulation. The researchers will look at it and bring it here before we finish. I'm conferring a doctorate to Comrade Karim, but it is due, after all. You are an academic in your own right. Comrade Karim?
Thank you, Mbongi Maswangane. Listen, my brother, man, just to, you see, my memory is not that perfect, right? But if Sakele and Dikeledi can help, what we said there, that was a specific issue. Remember, they increased VAT from 12 to 14%, unprecedented, it hadn't been done for many, many years. We opposed it vigorously, right? But you see, the onus then becomes on us if you want to change the law to provide an alternative. Okay, you know how the Money Bills Act, how binding it is, right? It makes it almost impossible for a committee with our limited resources to do. So what we said is that VAT increase of 2%, we will only accept it if it lapses within 48 months, I think, is it 2 years? And thereafter a review occurs, right? So that's the first part of it. There is a part that also says, Zakela, am I right, where we said the basket of zero rating products, commodities, should be expanded. So that's what it says. And maybe Zakela can find it. Secondly, if we said then, Comrade Chair, that we should expand the basket of zero rated foods, how much more would it apply now? They opposed that, Treasury did, right? And they gave us all sorts of technically complex arguments about why the effect of it is that it benefits the middle classes and upper classes too disproportionately. So if you zero rate, say, chicken, which is what the working classes wanted, trade unions wanted, NGOs wanted, and we agreed, they said to us, who buys more chicken? And they came with some statistics and things like that. Now, it is very hard for Zakele and his team. You know, they've got a whole battery of people working for 9 months on this budget and the tax proposals, right? So, you know, we couldn't win there. But now, I think we should look, Zakele, at, it may not be in the report, but in the background work we did, there is a list of things that COSATU and NGOs came with. And one of the things that we really cottoned onto as a committee was chicken. Because even though chicken is much more expensive now and working classes and the poor and disadvantaged may not even be able to afford chicken these days, but in those days, there was a lot of work done to show that actually a surprisingly high percentage of working people and some unemployed also buy chicken. So, there are things they were strategic for then, they may not be for now, but I think the chairperson, we can't sit here and have precise formulations about that because there is no law before us. That will happen in February. But it is our right, chairperson, to answer those words. It is our right, chairperson, as a committee to recommend to Treasury what they should do in the tax laws that they will bring into effect on budget day. But we don't have the right to tell them to release the information now for the reasons explained. So I think we can find a formulation, chairperson, that takes into account what was said in 2018, I think it was the 17, and what people are saying now. I think there's a cross-party political agreement. Thanks, Chair. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Karim. Honorable Abraham.
Oh, okay, Chair. I think it's a legacy hand, Chair. Safe to say that if we could go back to, did we finish 7.21? Are we at 7.22 now?
Are encouraged to explore. Then you go up, going down to 7.2. Yeah, we're at 7.22.
No, fine. Let me leave it as it is, sure.
Yeah, we're saying that we'll have to get the formulation that we've agreed upon before. The fact of the matter is that food inflation is very high, and we want to bring it to the attention of the houses that a further increase on the tax on food is going to be detrimental to the poor. I met somebody yesterday buying a pack of what is it, eggs at Pick and Pay. He was complaining, really, that look at where the price has jumped from to be where it is now. So food inflation is a serious matter for the public, and we must raise it very, very sharply in Parliament. Thanks.
Sure, I've made my input on that one, Chair. Thanks, Chair.
And goes 723.
Agreed, Chair. Yes, agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Expenditure issues, observations, 724. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Agreed. 725.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Safe to say, Chair, maybe we should not just as a member softly, we should include something to the effect that this is a concern, where we say the decline in the percentage of GDP devoted to expenditure, which is a concern. Then we can continue with coupled with commitments and so on and so forth, Chair, so that it's not just a smooth statement as if all is well. Thank you, Chair.
And goes 726. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 727.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Recommendations. 7 to
Sorry, Chair. Can we just 727?
27.
Yeah, I think, Chair, in line with what I think Honorable Abrams was saying about not just pretending as if all is well. I think we should, or in fact, we do say there is a growing concern. I don't know if there's anything stronger to say here, Chairperson, because this is a killer. To have that one line item bigger than the education spend, bigger than probably even defense line item, is a problem. I don't know if it's strong enough how it's formulated here, just to show that sitting where we're sitting, this is the most uncomfortable discussion point. What is there no stronger formulation here? It's mentioned in passing. It's a growing concern. Okay, so what? I'm just proposing that the drafters they find some wording that is going to just get people's attention. I don't know what that wording is. I don't have a clear suggestion right now, but I think the current formulation is it's almost like one of those noted kind of formulations. So we need something strong.
Okay, let's look at it. But also when we go to recommendations, Honorable Manya, that's where we get more strong. The upper part is just to note that there are these challenges. Therefore, this is what we are recommending. So let's strengthen the recommendation part. But we take acceptance of what you are raising. And say, but on the recommendations, let's be strong. 7 to, where are we now? 7 to 8.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Chair, my hand is up.
Okay. Oh, no, sir.
Yes, Chair, with just the formulation, Zakele, with you, through you, Chair. We know for a fact that there has been some agreements between the employer and the civil servants in as far as wage agreements are concerned. And therefore, for me, Chair, if we say as a committee, we want to re-emphasize the risk factors of not factoring in real costs, because I think that was the issue, that the departments as led by National Treasury did not factor in the real costs of the public sector wage bill in the budget. And therefore now that resulted in the probably difficulty in managing the public sector wage increase in the 23-24 financial year. And therefore, it really emphasizes the need for departments to absorb the wage hike within their baselines. I'm saying, Chair, that kind of strategy will include, as Zakele and his team have put it, implementing controls on payroll systems to ensure that the executive authorities operate within their budget when creating and filling vacant positions. Now, Chair, in that one, we need to really emphasize the factoring in of real costs to the budget over the MTF, because stakeholders have on an annual basis raised the issue. And going forward, the issue of a real cost budgeting should be taken into consideration over the MTF. Thank you, Chair. I'm just saying here, Chair, that we should not be blunt as we deal with the issue. We should have a recommendation that is in context. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Abraham. 729. The committee note with concern, National Treasury is diverting money from capital expenditure to fund the wage bill. This may lead to crowding out services in the provinces. And hey, what are we communicating here? Because here we are picking up a fight with public servants, which we are not going to. Is it diverting, or there's supposed to be money budgeted for wage agreements?
I think, Chair, that is covered in 7.28, because I do not think that if we craft 7.28 well, we will need 7.29 necessarily, because 7.29 is a bit slow for us as a committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Let's take out 7.29. It will create problems for us, the manner it is crafted, and strengthen 7.28.
Sanitize as much as you can, Chair. Sanitize.
Honorable Ryder.
It's Karim, the old man from the NCOP.
No, I didn't say anything. It was Dennis saying we're sanitizing it. But Chairperson,
and he's not that old.
This thing
but why are we being so ageist, right? Ageism is as bad as racism and sexism, really. I mean, it's quite backward, but Chairperson, we can't stop people from having that view. Now, there's no difference. It's biological determinism, really. No different from racism and sexism. But let's not go there. But let's deal with the issues, never mind the age of a person. The issue here, Chairperson, is the majority party's view has been consistently that the matter of wages has to be negotiated, like in the private sector, between labor and management. The same applies to the public sector. They have the public sector bargaining thing. We've always encouraged a give and take approach. Now, the position taken here also made me feel very uncomfortable, but I thought I did put something in. I don't know if it's there, but the way it comes across is like we are overemphasizing fiscal consolidation and prudent spending and expenditure, which of course, to some or other measure, we might agree with, at the expense of the public sector wage bill. And that's not our position as a majority party. That's not sanitization, in reply to Dennis. That's an ideological, policy, strategic, and other difference between the DA and the ANC. And we know the DA, which class interest it ultimately represents, and we know the ANC, which class interest it represents. So it's a policy difference. It's not about sanitization. Chairperson, I think I agree with those who say this thing is not on, and we have never taken a position like this before.
We support deletion of 7.29.
Yeah, it's progressive.
Manda fighters, Manda.
Yeah, you understand. As a former DJ, what this thing, and this thing of always criticizing public servants, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. When police on a daily basis have to face criminals who are involved in cash in transit, and they do all sorts of things to arrest them, nurses are working very hard in hospitals. I think it should not come up from us as public representatives. Really, I'm not happy in the manner we come hard on public servants. and some of them are working under very difficult circumstances. We have to acknowledge. You can say some, but if we make statements like we are worried about the manner they are paid the Lord compared to whom? Compared to us as politicians or compared to their colleagues in the private sector? So let's remove this 729 and see how we strengthen 728. 730. Honorable Oka.
Chairperson, yes, if I can just come in on 729. I do not agree with you. What he said in 729 is exactly what this committee discussed. We raised our concerns that we are diverting money from service delivery issues in order to pay the wage bill. That is what was said. And the fact that it is not soft on the ears should not allow us to not have it in this report. It is exactly what we discussed and agreed on with each other. We all raised concerns that service delivery are being hampered by various factors, but by the wage bill as well. So I think this should remain in there as it is. Thank you, Chair.
No, we never had an agreement before. We are discussing. We are discussing it now, Honorable Ockham. It was a matter that was discussed, but now we are coming to the decision. That is this formulation that we agreed upon now. And members are saying, no, we are not agreeing. Honorable Mahlangu, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. My apologies. I was struggling to log in, but I want to agree to the majority view. It was well put by your good self when you wanted to look for something that will justify our decision as to who are we comparing the salary of public servants to. And I think we are being used to a certain extent, or will be seen as being used to a certain extent if we agree to such a statement. I think it's just out of order, Chair. I agree to the majority, and majority view will decide. Thank you.
Thanks.
So can one then assume that you are not afraid that service delivery are being neglected? Well, but this is because exactly that is why we had these discussions. But Chairperson, we are not in the majority. I just state for a fact what was discussed in this committee. But thank you very much.
Chairperson.
Chairperson,
I just want to propose a way to accommodate the member here, that I think if we have to deal with the issues around service delivery, I think the biggest issue around there is actually corruption. That money that is designated for service delivery gets subsumed into corrupt activity. So if we say that, I think everybody will agree that we need to deal with that. We've got empirical evidence of this. So I think it's important at the same time to raise issues around poor service delivery, but I think we should attribute that to corruption. Thank you.
Okay, but we have agreed that we are taking out 729. That should be another formulation. So let's move to 7.
Chairperson, sorry, if I may just come in on that again. We were addressed by National Treasury on this, and this is exactly what they said. They said it in their report to us that they are diverting funds from capital expenditure in order to make provision for the wage bill. So it's not only us that acknowledge that at that stage, we also criticize it, but they admitted that to us. So I think it's very important that we state that National Treasury appears to be, not appear, they admitted that they are diverting money from capital expenditure to fund the wage bill. I don't see any reason why we should not be honest with ourselves and the public out there. That is just my opinion. Thank you very much.
Your opinion is welcome. The majority feel strongly that we should have this sentence out. Whatever is said by National Treasury does not necessarily mean that as members of Parliament we agree with it. We don't agree with their analogy. Why are they not blaming the monies that they are taking to SOEs, which is a problem? It's far much bigger than what they are taking to the wage bill, the money that they are bailing out SOEs. So it's a debate for another day.
Sorry, it's not a debate for another day. I beg your pardon for interjecting, but perhaps you can tell us in this budget or in this adjustment, how much is going to SOEs and how much is going to the wage bill? You've just made a very strong statement, which is factually incorrect, Chair.
I don't get you clear, Honorable Ryder. Can you come out and speak slowly so that I get you clear? What is it that you are recommending?
Chairperson, I'm merely stating that your argument is false. The SOEs are getting zero bailouts in this adjustment that we're seeing right now. Whilst it is a problem, to conflate the two matters is incorrect. But if you are going to contend that SOEs are getting a much bigger bailout than the wage bill in this adjustment budget or in the medium term, perhaps you can quantify those amounts. Understanding we're dealing with the NTBPS, but perhaps you can give us a quantity because you made the statement, SOEs are getting far more than wage adjustments. Perhaps you can just draw us those numbers and you can prove the statement that you've just made, Chair, because it's factually incorrect. Chair, we will continue to debate this right throughout the process. As you say, the majority has its view, but to ignore data and to make up facts as we go along is not constructive. And the fact is that this is what has brought this country to where we are right now. The fact that we are pussyfooting around facts and data that just don't tie in with our ideology, and we end up messing up the country as a result. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Ryder. The issue of SOEs, remember this is not the actual budget. The budget was tabled in February, and there's a huge bailout of SOEs in that budget. And the real budget is still coming again in in February next year. So I don't know when you say I must put the new data, when data is there from February, how much. We even voted on a bill on ESCOM. Is that not so, Honorable Ryder? To bail out ESCOM, huge amount of money, Treasury taking over the debt of ESCOM, and so on and so on and so on. So let's not go there. We're dealing with 729. The majority don't agree. Let's move to 730. I see there's Honorable Abraham and Honorable Karim. Honorable Abraham.
So, okay, I respect the fact that you have already summarized the matter. I just wanted to give a clarity that there is a difference between when members make their own inputs on a matter and a decision of the committee. The reason why we're having this meeting now is because we want to test our discussions and check which are we agreeing upon. And I think, secondly, Chair, we should appreciate the fact that when the party, which is in this case government, fails to own up on their responsibility to the wage bill, then it means that it piles up for the following financial year, which is something that we aim at dealing with in 7.28, so that we know that we have a well-crafted recommendation that will accommodate all these issues. Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry for talking after you.
No problem. You're welcome. Veli, you are welcome. I see you are raising something on the chat. Nobody ever argued that ESCOM debt relief was not a bailout. We agree. Thanks. Honorable Karim.
It's just a pity that everybody said that they won't receive any bailouts anymore, and the debt relief bill is exactly what it is. Just Chairperson, if I may come back to what Noxie said earlier on, it is not an opinion that I'm raising. What I'm raising is what National Treasury told us. They said in the explanations which areas of service delivery they are cutting in order, and they said it in order to subsidize the wage bill. So it's not our opinion. We are merely in 7.29 quoting what National Treasury themselves said. And again, if it's soft or hard on the ears, it should not stop us from putting it as it is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Okamp. Honorable Karim.
Chairperson, I think it's clear from what ANC members are saying, or at least if it's not clear, maybe it's necessary for you and I to do it. We're not saying that money for expenditure should be sacrificed. We have to increase the revenue for expenditure as long as it's serving the poor and disadvantaged. As you said, Chair, health and education, it's abysmal what's going on, but the same could apply to crime services and so on. The appropriations committees will deal with that in greater detail. So no one is saying from any party here that we don't need more money for basic delivery. What is being questioned here is whether the public sector wage bill is disproportionately being sacrificed. That's the point. As against other means, for example, we don't want to enter this debate now, are the upper classes and business tax and so on sufficiently enough for where we are? People have been raising, not least Judge Dennis Davis, a judge, about a wealth tax and so on. We've been saying for years now, what about luxury goods being taxed? And Treasury keeps coming back to show us that actually that income that comes there is not worth it as against the costs of administering it and so on. So there's a variety of forms of raising revenue, both within the revenue service and within government, without having to sacrifice the public sector wage bill. But it could be argued, Chairperson, it's not something anybody raised, but it's not foreign to the ANC's thinking, that everybody needs to tighten their belts, MPs starting off with us, but also sectors of the working class for a period while we work together. There have been these social compacts, Chairperson, in very progressive countries, social democratic in Nicaragua and so on, in the immediate aftermath of the revolution and so on beginning. So these things are done. But we're saying, why disproportionately the public sector wage bill? We're not questioning that Treasury said that. We're expressing our point of view that we don't agree. We agree there should be tightening up across all strata, including the public sector workers, but not in the formulation it's here before us. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Yunus. Comrade Manye, then we move.
Yeah, okay. In conclusion, Chair, I just want to assist the member there that we are dealing with recommendations here. And in dealing with these recommendations, the point that the member is raising is actually accommodated in 7.28, because in 7.28, this is what, having heard what National Treasury is saying about about diverting funds from left to right, having heard that, we can't on recommendation say we've heard that, but because now the section that we're dealing with, as we're dealing with these things right now, is a section on recommendations. So we're saying on 7.28, this is what we're recommending to take care of this. Therefore, we don't need this 7.29 here, because the issue that we disagree with, which Treasury is saying here, we are proposing a way forward in terms of how to deal with it at 7.28. So we don't need 7.29, not because we're trying to not say what Treasury is saying, but it's recommendations here. It's not making sense in the first instance that when you say recommendations and then we repeat what the National Treasury has been saying. We should take what National Treasury has said and then say, having heard that, what are we doing? And I'm saying to you, Honorable Member, that on 7.28, we can fine-tune that and accommodate what we want to do on 7.28. But to repeat what National Treasury is saying on 7.29 can be in the list of recommendations. It's really that simple. Thank you, Chair.
Then goes 7:30. Zanen. Who call?
Yes, I'm here, Chair.
Agreed. 731.
Just an addition at the end, Chair, where the sentence ends with economic development. I think as part of our recommendation, National Treasury, this should be an addition for me, Chair, that National Treasury should really take greater responsibility in ensuring quality performance in the expenditure across departments and entities, Chair. I think that is what, as the committee, we need to emphasize in as far as 7:30 is concerned. Thank you, Chair.
And goes 731.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 732. Balance, budget balance, and debt sustainability. Observations 732.
Isn't it enough, Chair, if we say that at the end of that sentence, Zakele, through your Chair, that the increasing, we get rid of the however, we just say the increasing gross loan debt reaching 77.5 of GDP in 26-27, as it is put there, requires careful management rather than stating the concerns and debt sustainability. But we simply say it requires careful management. Thank you, Chair. That is my take.
And goes 733.
Agreed, Chairperson.
Agreed. 734.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Come to recommendations. 735.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Where's Vessels? He has left the meeting. 736.
Agreed.
Agreed. 737.
Agreed, Chair.
Chair, again here.
Yes.
I don't have I don't have a what can I say? It's not a harsh a change in the way the recommendation is crafted. Safe to say that rather than the continuous vigilance and so on and so forth, rather let's stick to close monitoring, so that we say the committee recommends close monitoring as has been put. We just remove the continuous vigilance and achieving and so on and so forth. Just close monitoring. Thanks, Chair. So we don't do a lot of tautology, but rather stick to what needs to be done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Noxie. 7 738.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. 739.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Can 739 be explained, Chair, a bit? Sorry for that. Can I when I read it, I couldn't comprehend it. If it can be explained a bit, what we're saying there.
Suggest a thorough review of the effectiveness of existing fiscal rules and emphasizes the need for clear binding measures to ensure fiscal sustainability. Yeah. It's finance language. So, what is it that you want us to clarify, Noxin?
Okay, we seem to be stating the obvious there, Chair, and I'm wondering whether the recommendation I'm in doubt here, Chair. I need guidance from the committee and yourself in terms of whether we cannot live without that recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
And course. So you are agreeing to what is recommended here? Or
the problem for me, Chair, is the issue of binding measures, because sometimes when we make recommendations, we do not know how those recommendations will catch up with us going forward. So maybe it's fine as it stands, but we just remove the aspect of binding measures. Maybe we have been bound too much in the past that we are suspicious when we are called upon to take ourselves into a position of being bound once again. So we can let it remain as it is, but just remove the binding measures. Just ensure fiscal sustainability. It's okay, Chair. Let it remain as it is, but let's take out the binding measures. Thank you, Chair.
And goes 740.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 741.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Let's come to fiscal strategy 742. Agreed.
Agreed.
But I think also, Chair, that one has to be reread and we check whether we really need that recommendation. Safe to say, Chair, that in 741 we could include, because I think that this is where the crux of the matter is in terms of what the department specifically what finance does with IMF. So we're just calling upon transparency with financial institutions, and I think let us make mention of such as International Monetary Fund. Yes, World Bank is there already. Now, we should also include that we should be able to present the preconditions that had to be met and how these preconditions were met, because there is so much that as citizens, sometimes we suspect is being done between our government and the IMF, and therefore, hence the addition of IMF and World Bank and the preconditions that had to be met and those that were met. Thank you, Chair. Just that addition. And further, Chair, on 7.242, just to check once again, maybe on this one, one needs to have an engagement. I don't want to take the time of honorable members and maybe disadvantage honorable members, but let's have a careful look at 7.42 and see whether we do need that clause to be there at all. And if we do, I'm fine with that. But if we don't, I'm happy with that we take it out. But we can have that kind of engagement on the side where members will indicate that 7.42 as it is has to be there. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. So you are recommending that we take out 742?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Agreed. Comrade Karim?
Yeah, Chairperson, firstly, you see that last sentence, to achieve these goals, ending in additional borrowing. It talks of a well-rounded approach and so on, but that is not a position of the majority party. And it's not the majority of not the position. I was missed quite a bit of it because of circumstances beyond my control, the hearings. But I did look at the news reports and I did browse through the submissions. I mean, the vast majority of them were clear that it's not consistent with what's here. In other words, while we are not like populists who completely submerge ourselves to civil society structures, on the other hand, we have to take their views into account. And like this goes completely against the grain of the entire public hearings, let alone the views of the majority party from parliament side, at least, not government side. So yeah, I think this is not appropriate. But insofar as we mentioned the IMF and World Bank, Noxie has raised it now, Mzwanele raised it earlier, just to remind us, our position is that all World Bank and IMF loans should be subject to oversight by Parliament, right? This has been our position. You will recall, Comrade Chair, the IMF asked for a meeting with, I think, the chairs and so on. Comrade Dorothy was there. And I didn't know the media was there, but it got picked up in one of the newspapers, and somebody sent it to me recently to facilitate a meeting. There's an NGO, which I think has reached out to you as well, calling for parliamentary oversight. So our existing position is parliamentary oversight of the World Bank and IMF. That parliamentary network on the World Bank that we serve on, that's its aim, to encourage oversight of World Bank and IMF loans. The argument of government has always been that these are sensitive things, that is negotiated with governments and so on. But even the IMF and World Bank, over the last 10 years, have become more open, allowing some sort of community involvement, NGO involvement, parliamentary involvement, and so on. So I think we should repeat that, given that there are more loans emerging, that the committee reiterates its position that World Bank and IMF loans should be subject to oversight by Parliament, and recommends that appropriate legislation for this be effected in the next 2 years or 3 years. Let's be realistic how long it takes to get built. But that is our position. When Mzwanele raised it, I mean, because he's relatively new here, I think he wasn't familiar with it. But now that Noxie is raising it also, I think it's important that's our position. We can change it, but our existing position is no. When you talk about transparency, it's more than transparency. It's actually accountability. You see, the government can go about, Chairperson, and say, yeah, okay, these are the elements of what we're looking for, have found, and so on. And they do that after the fact, right, for the media. And they might say some things in parliamentary committee, especially on your side, NA side. But, I mean, it's more than that. They have to engage with us. Now, when you engage with them privately as well, the officials and the ministers concerned, they have been raising this, Comrade Chair. They might have raised it with you as well. And with Dick Lady, I don't know. They say, look, there is no room for us to negotiate with the IMF and World Bank, come back to you, look for approval, and go back. That's not the way it works. It's not to the IMF and World Bank Charter. So we said, government's asking for a reform of all these multilateral institutions. Why not about these loans? It's going to be a huge fight with Treasury, Chairperson. It's not going to happen overnight. But I think as we're exiting this term, it's something we should put strongly here. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Eunice. Seconded 743. Okay. Which will become 743. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 744.
Chair, that's just to say that at 744, after that sentence that ends with stimulating the economy, I think there we should add that the committee notes that National Treasury remains opposed to these proposals in its response, and continue with the sentence asserting that South Africa's challenges are primarily driven by supply side constraints. And the sentence, I think, that should end that recommendation should be: the committee notes that greater discussion on perspectives is necessary. I think that will cover us going forward, Chair. Thank you.
And goes. Comrade Eunice.
Sorry, Chair, it's an old hand. I'll take it down. Sorry about that.
Okay. 745.
Yes, Chair, again here, we are in agreement with the National Treasury maintaining its focus on addressing underlying supply side issues. We can then add something like: the committee has long called for greater research evidence-based dialogue on these perspectives, taking into account different orthodox and heterodox schools of thought, so as to form a comprehensive understanding, as it is put there. Good. And we should, at the end, where it says on debt levels and sovereign credit risk, add that this is a point that is disputed. Thank you, Chair. That's my take.
Goes. Dr. Thorpe.
Yes, Chair. We try to take notes, but if honorable member has got something written down on these changes that are being proposed there, I would suggest that they share it with us, because I'm struggling to follow sometimes what needs to be changed where, and
Okay, Chair, I will do that.
Oh, okay. Then let's move to 746. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 747.
That's the slight addition at the end, Chair, where it says, after reviews, we have quality of expenditure by departments and entities assessment. But we'll give that to Zakhele and team.
Okay. 748. Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. 749. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 750. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
751. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 752.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Let's go to 753. Rail ports reforms. 753.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 754.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 755.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Other issues? 756.
Yes, Chair. On 756, I don't think there's a significant addition that we want to make, but I will forward the comment to the Kelly. But let me just bounce it in the committee so that the members know. We're starting off by saying that the committee notes significant process and financial support for a structured and systemic approach to enhance inclusivity and promote gender equality in the country. We also want to make it clear that it is not as if there is absence of gender inclusivity per se, but that there should be an alignment of policies, fiscal policies on gender with the broader national development goals. There's just a fine tuning of the presentation without taking away the points that the committee made. Thank you, Chair.
And goes 757.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 75.
Chair, sorry.
Can
you hear me, Chair? Yeah, sorry to take you back. I'm actually nervous that the member, especially being a woman, would try and soften something that talks to gender inclusivity. Really, we should be saying something strong rather than to dilute it. I think the current formulation is proper. Now, to say what the member is suggesting is almost trying to be apologetic about including gender. I really am disappointed, Chair. We can't be having this discussion on an issue like this. We know that we look at empirical evidence, whether you look at employment equity reports, whether you look at JSE, it doesn't matter what you look at. Women are underrepresented everywhere. So to be having some apologetic statement about including gender is very, very, very disheartening, Chair. I really think we should leave the formulation as it currently stands.
I think I agree to a certain extent with Honorable Mani. However, Chair, we should not move from a premise of saying that there is no gender lens at all in the budgeting. That's why I'm saying rather let's have something additional that suggests that we align gender sensitive fiscal policies with the broader national development plans, because pretending at the same time as if they are not there is also false. But we can have some.
Chair, sorry,
no,
sorry, member. Without interjecting, apologies. I think
no,
the
no.
member just looked at the word
Oh,
enhance.
Honorable Manye.
Sorry, Chair.
You can't do this also to women when we're discussing gender issues.
Sorry, Chair. I apologize.
Sensitive, please. Onoxe.
Yes, Chair. We really want to agree with the way that it has been crafted to say that it should integrate a robust gender-based budgeting mechanism into future budgetary processes, right? But we're also saying that this should include ensuring that the gender-sensitive fiscal policies are aligned with national development goals. So for me, it's not so much on developing gender sensitive fiscal policies, but including them, because I agree with the honorable member that not much seriousness is put into the implementation of such, and therefore we should emphasize that rather than saying that it is non-existent.
Okay, I think you have found each other. You have found the middle way.
Chair.
Honorable Mike.
Chair, we found each other, but I'm just saying, Chair, the formulation has found both of us. If you look at the very first four words, in order to enhance, you can't, when you have a word like that, and pretend that the formulation means it's totally excluded. It's just not correct understanding of what is here. If you say you enhance, the assumption is that it's there. So we can't have a member pretending as if the formulation here means it's not there. So that's why the formulation must be left as it is. Otherwise, we're going to have all kinds of concoction here that are not going to make sense. This formulation accommodates the member because it says enhance. You can't enhance what is not there. Thank you, Chair.
No, okay. I think we agree, all of us, as to how should we. We dealt with this matter when members raised the issue of gender-based budgeting, and there was an explanation about that. We'll find a way of making it look stronger and have clarity as to what are we talking about, so that if somebody asks a question, what do you mean by gender-based budgeting, we're able to conceptualize it properly. Thanks. 757. Agree. Mazet. No,
Great, Chair.
Agree, Chair.
Agree, Chair.
Agreed. 758. Agree.
Melana, Chair.
Okay. 759.
Agree, Chair.
Agree. 760.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 761.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. 762.
Agreed, Chair.
Wait. This matter was raised by Honorable Dutoit. What is it saying? Recognizing the rationale provided by Treasury for the allocation of 300 million rand towards political party funding in the preceding year, the committee emphasizes the importance of the transparency and seeks further clarification regarding this expenditure. What are we saying? We seek clarity over expenditure. Is it not the money that is supposed to be allocated to political parties? Dutoy, are you here? We have also left.
No, I'm here, Chair.
Can you restate what you raised the other time? It was you who picked this matter up.
Chair, I spoke to the funding of the party political fund, that 300 million. And I wanted feedback from National Treasury with regards to what constituted that amount and how did they basically come to the conclusion that that amount should be allocated towards the party political funding module because of the elections that lie ahead, as well as taking into consideration the current dire financial state that the country finds itself in. That was all that I spoke to, Chair.
Okay, so you are saying that this money must be allocated to political funding, to political parties, as it was budgeted for.
Honorable Chair, that is not what I said. I wanted more information with regards to how did they come to that specific amount, how this amount will be divided between political parties, and why such a large amount, looking at the current state in which the country finds itself in financially.
Okay. Because I'm trying to get what are we recommending here. It's not clear. It just says the committee emphasizes the importance of transparency, seeks further clarification.
Honorable Chair, yes, the information or the feedback from Treasury was not that much. And I mean, I requested information on this in more than one meeting, but it seems as if we did not receive a comprehensive answer that pertains to this specific 300 million rand.
Okay. Yeah, Vessels, we haven't heard your voice for a long time. Can you say something?
Yes, I'm listening, Chairperson. Thank you. I think that the issue here is the fact that the party political funding under the Department of Home Affairs, obviously, are increased in this medium-term budget. And there's no actual reasons for that. Members will remember that the budget was already increased in the February budget with and last year with the medium-term budget last year. There was an additional amount, if I'm not mistaken, it was 340 million that was given to the fund. Then there was an increase in February to the baseline as well. And now there's an additional 300 million rand increase. And it actually just doesn't make sense in the circumstances that we are in. And it doesn't seem as though, as if National Treasury really provides reasons for this. So I think the recommendation must stand. I think there's some words that's omitted there. I think after preceding year, I think the intention there was to say in the preceding year to a national election, there should be transparency, and we seek further clarification with regards to why this was increased or are increased.
Okay, we'll do so. Let's take cognizance of the fact that there is also supposed to be a budgeting for the independent candidates. Remember, the law had to be amended to make a provision for independent candidates. And IEC has raised that the issue that there's going to be a serious challenge of funding. Because initially it was only talking of political parties. Now that there is an issue of independent candidates and you don't know how many there are going to be. So I think National Treasury was trying to accommodate that. It's a matter that has been debated quite several times as to if you bring on board also independent candidates, what does it mean? So we might want also to engage our colleagues in Home Affairs who work directly with the IEC and themselves playing oversight over Home Affairs Department as to what is this all about, and get clarity before we take a decision on this matter. So we raise it as it is, that we seek more clarity. So we'll also seek clarity from our colleagues from Home Affairs Portfolio Committee. They might have a better understanding of how 300 million was arrived at and how is it going to be allocated to political parties and or to independent candidates who will have to be catered for in the new dispensation. Thanks. 6763. Agreed.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed. Okay. I think now we are coming to a stage where we have to have different committees meeting on their own to adopt the report. Let us start with the lower house. Are we correcting?
Chair, can I just come in before you do, please? I'd had my hand up.
Okay, come in, Karim.
Just a very quick thing, just to see where there's agreement so I can send this to Zakele. On the IMF and World Bank matter, it can read something like this. I mean, it can be tweaked a bit and sharpened, right? It's a very quick one. The committee expresses concerns about government securing IMF and World Bank loans without Parliament having any say. The committee also needs to be briefed about why loans, where necessary, are not being secured from the BRICS Bank. The committee recommends that legislation be introduced within 3 years to provide for parliamentary oversight of all IMF and World Bank loans in South Africa by the relevant parliamentary committees. The relevant parliamentary committees, Chairperson, because if, let's say, Eskom or Transnet takes a loan, right, it's the responsibility of the committees, relevant committees, might be energy or transport, or if there's still some form of a public enterprises committee. So that's basically the recommendation. I mean, we can tinker with it, but isn't that what we really say?
Okay, Comrade Yunis. Do you agree with that formulation, honorable members? So that we can move forward.
Agreed, Chair.
Agreed.
Agreed, Chair. But also, Chair, can I also add something through you?
Mazed.
Yes, Chair. I just want to go back to the term that was used as a gender-based budgeting. In Parliament, as part of the 7 pillars of the NSP, which is also part of the 7 cardinal pillars, we have what we call a gender-responsive budgeting. I am raising this, Chair, because you also said we don't want to bring phrases where when we are questioned, we're unable to respond. But I know that through the Department of Women and Youth and Persons with Disability, we've adopted a cardinal pillar which speaks to gender-responsive budgeting as opposed to what Treasury is bringing as a gender-based a budgeting. But maybe we can, just so that we align our issues or items, we also use the phrase of gender-responsive budgeting so that when Treasury allocates budget, it also knows that it responds to issues of gender issues. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mazet. Okay, so the right concept is gender-responsive budgeting, not gender-based. Okay. Let's align that, Dr. Zakele, Esther, and your team. Yeah. So I think, Comrade Eunice, are we not coming to an end where we have to take resolutions? Before that, Honorable Mine.
Yeah, a quick one, Chair. I think the 7.63, that's first sentence is contradictory. If we say we welcome the reported improvements made to remove South Africa from grey listing and the challenges that remain, I mean, what are we saying here? We're also welcoming the challenges that remain. I think that sentence is contradictory. Perhaps we should, instead of welcoming, maybe we should, the committee notes the reported improvements and the challenges that remain. We note them. We can't be welcoming challenges that remain, Chairperson. So I think we just note and that should be fine.
Chairperson, should we welcome, Chairperson, the reported improvements? I mean, we should encourage and note the challenges that remain. To put note before the challenges.
So we start by welcoming the improvement and then we note the challenges that remain. Honorable Manya.
That should do it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Can we break Honorable Karim into two committees so that we can take the resolution?
Yeah, Chairperson, thanks for everything. Thank you for chairing.
Sure. Thanks very much. Let's check members of the lower house if we are correcting. Because the upper house, the lords, take the decisions after us. Are we correcting, Alan?
Chair, I think we are. I just stopped sharing my screen, so I couldn't keep count of members. Maybe Beauty can just confirm if there are 6 members on the platform.
Let's check. Otherwise, I see Cindy in the platform. We'll get Cindy to assist us with the quorum. Cindy, how are you?
I'm good, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honourable members. I will have a look. I will have a look quickly.
Yes, we correct. There are 10 members on the platform.
How many are we, Beauty, from the standing committee?
There are 10 members, Chairperson.
Okay.
Chairperson, just one last thing. In fairness, I thank you for chairing this meeting, but I'm forced to raise this matter. Your bias towards Mr. Wessels. You miss him immensely. If he doesn't say a word, you bring him into the committee. I don't know what's going on here, but it's unconstitutional and it goes against the rules that you favor him above all of us. We can see that and we're noting it.
Honorable Karim must stick to his house.
You have to protect me here. When I miss Mr. Vessels, I haven't seen him for a long time. And he brings Vavavuma into the committee. You know, we are a very good committee here, irrespective of our political differences. Sure, thanks. Okay, we correct as the standing committee finance. Can a member move for the adoption of the report with amendment?
Chair, I move for the adoption of the report with amendments.
Honorable Zanel Nkomo moves for the adoption. Honorable Maswale?
No, thank you, Chair. I also would be comfortable to move for to second with the amendments.
Report seconded. Dr. George?
Thank you, Chairperson. The DA reserves its position on the report. Thanks, Chair.
Let's record the position of the DA. Honorable Manya?
Thank you, Chair. I must qualify this by saying, firstly, I welcome the the contributions by members trying to put plasters and bandages on this report. They've done the best they could, Chair, but it actually indicates that essentially the report is fundamentally flawed, despite all the bandages that have been put. So, EFF object to the report, or what is the right word, rejects or whatever, but we're not covered. Just find the right word, Chair, but we're not here.
You were busy plastering and
Aziz,
bandaging.
you were part of the plastering.
Yes,
Part
you
of the
empathize.
representation.
He came with formulation.
Comrade Mani,
It's so much
you are
like you.
rejecting your own views.
Yeah, no. There's too much
Comrade
plaster here.
Mani.
Too much
Mama,
bandages here.
you also struck plastered.
So what do we do with the bandages that you have dressed here?
We are bandages now.
Okay.
Even the bandages are showing some blood, it's just too much blood.
Comrade Mani.
Fighters, you are taking another ANC member today. I'm not there. And he is. Hey, well.
Akbar Vessels.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was not part of the plastering, and I think the Honourable Mani earlier described it very accurately by calling some of the clauses waffling. So please note the objection of the FF Plus to the waffled report.
Okay. Those are the positions of the opposition parties. The report is adopted. Over to you, Honorable Karim.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We are over-correct in Kululeko. I don't know if there's a rule against that, but can we put the report to the vote? A mover, please.
Chairperson Matangu here, I move with the amendment.
Thank you. Seconder, please.
Thank you, Chairperson.
No
Mama
second.
Rakhane, second.
Thank you. Then over to the other members of other committees. Any comments? Your vote, of course, not comment.
Thank you very much, Chair. Democratic Alliance does not support this report for various reasons. And we'll obviously unpack those when we get the opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
I don't know why you're looking so pink. You're having suntans in Joburg. Right. Okay, next. EFF.
Thank you, Chairperson. Hence, I was not contributing. EFF doesn't support the report. Thank you.
Why? Give me 10 reasons. Next. Who's next? Freedom Front.
Freedom Plus objects.
Okay. What else is there? You and EFF and DMS set up an alliance of the Objectionist Party. Right. Oh, sorry, colleagues, I apologize. That's it. Thank you very much. Bye then. See you tomorrow at the SICOA meeting.
Comrade Karim, let's thank the support staff.
Yes, of course, yes.
The content advisors and the entire support team for having put the report together within a short space of time so that they should not think that...
we're very grateful. Thank you, Comrade Joe. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
The number you have dialed does not